We are now ready for our fifth and last session on the biblical teaching of salvation. First of all, we looked at Romans 5:12 through 21, in which we saw the fact that what makes us lost is the sin we committed in Adam. What makes us saved is the grace of God. What we're saved from is the condemnation and penalty of sin. And what we're not saved from is sinning. Then in the second session, we looked at the many terms related to the atoning work of Jesus Christ, whereby Christ made amends unto God on our behalf that we might be reconciled to God. Then we looked at Romans 3:19 through 28, which makes use of all of those terms. And then in the last session, we looked at the fact that when we receive Christ into our life, we receive the life of God, a very absolute God in all of His fullness and completeness, and therefore we are not lacking anything in our salvation. Now, in this session, I want us to cover a subject that has brought about a great deal of controversy and caused a lot of problem and difficulties and conflict in the life of many people. A subject that is often misused and abused because it is not studied contextually within the Scriptures. There are many things that people pick out words here and there and make them mean what they want to mean rather than taking them as they are literally within context. That's the reason throughout all of my ministry I have emphasized the pure contextual exposition straight through books of the Bible. And no person is capable of a systematic theology until, first of all, he has a good contextual understanding of every book from which he takes his information. And I am talking about in this subject the topic of predestination and election. And it is a greatly misused and misunderstood subject. Now, it is generally taught in many circles that God pre-chose who He wanted to be saved, and that's all that could be saved, and He predetermined who would go to hell. Now that does not sound like a God of love to me. But they say, well, He's sovereign and can do what He wants to do. Yes, He's sovereign, but they also misdefine that term as well. Sovereignty does not mean that God controls all of my behavior and all of my actions and everything that I do and everything that I say. And that's what they defined it. Everything that happens was God's will. It had to happen because God determined that life would be that way. Well, I think that's a great absurdity. God is sovereign in this sense, just like a man who is a sovereign ruler over a country. He might tell you in his sovereign authority and power, if you obey my laws and live as I tell you you should, then you can retain the right to drive automobiles upon the roads of my country. But if you break those laws, I'll take that privilege away from you. He is sovereign in His authority and power, but you have the choice as to which way it will go, and that's exactly the way it is with God. We find back in the Old Testament, in Deuteronomy as well as Leviticus, long chapters devoted to this that God said to Israel, if you obey me and live according to my precepts, and you follow my commandments, then I will bless you, I will keep your enemies away from you, I will make you productive, I'll keep the pestilence away from you, and you'll have a great life. But if you do not obey me, I'll bring judgments upon you.